Hey guys, what's up? It's Bret. Welcome to this week's Friday on the Turntable, where I pull out a record from my collection and have a little discussion on it, talk about its history, favorite tracks, etc., etc. If you missed last week's feature, it was for Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures, their 1979 debut, so if you missed it, take a look at my channel and you should be able to find that one really easily. So today we're looking at Jane's Addiction's debut album. Now, some people don't consider this their debut because it's technically a live album, but for me and for most Jane's Addiction fans, this is their debut album. Self-titled, or as me and my brother and friends have always called it, Triple X, because it was on Triple X Records. So this came out on May 15th, 1987. It was recorded live at the Roxy Theater in Hollywood, although, you know, like a lot of live albums, things are touched up in the studio and stuff, but whatever. It's said to have the audience applause and chatter and stuff taken from a Los Lobos live album, so whether or not that's true, I guess we'll never know. But I first bought this album back in back when I was in high school, and I first bought it on cassette. I remember where I bought it. It was at Warehouse Records. You always remember where you buy. Well, I usually remember where I buy everything, but in this situation, an album that is just so pivotal in your life, you always remember that. But I bought it on cassette back then, and then later I bought it on, oh, I got it right here. Bought it on CD, and then, you know, back then as well, I bought it on LP. So it's kind of a hard album to find nowadays, but yeah, you can see the Triple X there. Oops, and the B-side, and the record. The sleeve also had the lyric sheet with it, and that of course is the actual Jane there, and has the lyrics on it. Jane Says right there. And for a while on eBay, Jane Banter, she was actually selling autographed, these lyric sheets autographed on, I think it was on eBay. So I never got it, but it still was kind of cool, you know. So let's see here. Photo. Did a little history on this, or a little research on it. The photo was actually done taken by a woman named Karen Cantor, and then Perry Farrell actually painted the black and white photo, and that's what's on the cover there, his painting of that. Kind of strange on the back cover, all the photos of like Eric Avery and stuff shows him as playing left-handed, so the photos were somehow reversed there. I always noticed that, and Dave Navarro also, as well as playing left-handed. Of course, both of those guys are right-handed. Let's see what else here. Two of these songs ended up being re-recorded for the major label debut when they put out their first album on Warner Brothers, which was Nothing Shocking. And two of the songs were re-recorded for that, Jane Says and Pigs and Zen. So those ones have studio versions as well. I mean, most of the other songs were demoed and stuff. But two songs were also covers. It has Rock and Roll from the Velvet Underground from the Loaded album, and also the Rolling Stones' Sympathy for the Devil, or as it's shown on here, just as Sympathy. Back in 2009, Jane's Addiction, well, when they broke up in 1991, they never reunited. They reunited several times, but they never reunited with the original classic lineup of Perry Farrell, Dave Navarro, Stephen Perkins, and then Eric Avery. Eric Avery was always the holdout. He never reunited with them until 2009. They did this, I think it was 2009, when they did the NME Awards show, and then they went into the studio after that. Well, they played a few like LA shows, and then they went into the studio with Trent Reznor producing, and they actually came out with two songs. They re-recorded actually two songs from this album. They did new versions of Chip Away, which is that really tribal closing song on here, and they also did a re-recording of Whores, which I remember I think was dropped a whole step as far as in the pitch, but those were two really killer versions. And then I guess there was some conflict in the studio, so they decided to go on the road, and they did that Ninja tour, which was 9 Inch Nails and Jane's Addiction. I saw that show, and it was pretty great. Saw it here in Phoenix, And then after that, the band Eric Avery just called it quits again. So that was kind of done, and then Jane's Addiction put out a new album last year, etc. So there are, if you haven't heard those 2 re-recordings of Horrors and Chip Away, I'm not sure if they're available, if there's a promo CD or what. I know it was available for download when you ordered your tickets for that show. But those are definitely worth seeking out. So as far as my favorite tracks on this one, I mean, this album is a 10 for me, so to pick out favorite tracks, I'll just name a few, but the whole thing is just perfection. I Would For You, which is just like a bass and a tiny little bit of keyboards, just that it's an unsigned one, is killer. My Time, which was a more acoustic based one with Perry on harmonica, that starts side 2, that's excellent. What else? Trip Away, the opener, 1%. I mean, it's just great. But the interesting thing about that show, when they did that, that this is taken from, they did a 2-set show where they started off acoustic, and that's where all the acoustic numbers are taken from, like Jane Says and My Time and stuff like that. And then they came out, and then they did the full rockin' set, which is of course resequenced and reordered on this one, and there's some additional tracks that were left off, obviously. But what else was I going to say about that? It was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, yeah, Pigs and Zen. If you notice, when you listen to the recording of Pigs and Zen on this one, there's this little intro that's not on the version that ended up being put on Nothing Shocking, but there's this little that's actually taken from a song called Suffer Some, which was just a demo, which wasn't available at all. You could only get it on like bootlegs and stuff like that. But I'd heard it back in the early 90s, and it was just recently made available on that Cabinet of Curiosities. Oh, it's actually right behind me there, that little brown box there. But they put it out, so now everyone can hear it. So it's called Suffer Some, and that's the version that I was familiar with when back in the early 90s. So Suffer Some, and then that segued into Pigs and Zen for this live version. So I think that about wraps it up for Jane's Addiction's XXX or self-titled, however you want to call it. So I look forward to reading your guys' comments on this one. This album has been this album and Nothing Shocking and Ritual de l'Habitual was their last album with the original lineup. Those 3 albums are just incredible. They're 3 of my favorite albums of all time, and just would like to see what this album meant to you guys or means to you guys, and when you discovered it, and your favorite tracks and stuff like that. So leave me some comments, and look forward to chatting with you guys. All right, see ya.